Most of the medical staff that I talked to throughout my procedure and throughout my recovery asked me one question: how did you find it? And they asked me because most of the time they only find it in autopsy.
You know, it won't hide the unbroken promise of love.
I wasn't with Dad when he had his stroke. He was up north, and on a Sunday night, he complained about a headache and felt dizzy. So he laid down on the bed and became unresponsive. My stepmother called the ambulance. He was able to blink his eyes, but he wasn't able to move them. He wasn't able to move any part of his body, and he chose to go a palliative route, and we watched Dad pass. Dad was 67 years old. He never got to retire. He never got to see his grandson graduate from high school. When I started to get the headaches, I immediately thought of Dad, and I thought of what that would mean for our family. And that's what led to the CT scan that found my aneurysm.
When he got the news and came home and told me, I think he was shocked. The fear of it rupturing was real, and not being able to do the things together that we'd always dreamt about doing, and growing old together.
At one point I asked my doctor if I was going home that day because she was so concerned about a rupture happening.
He was hooked up to all kinds of machines, his color wasn't right, but he looked great in my book because he was there, he was alive, and he came through it. I always knew Jason was really strong, but you don't realize how strong a person is till they go through what he went through.
The Heart Walk has a different meaning now than it did before. Being able to walk into that survivor area and feel the love in that room, it was a milestone, a moment to celebrate. To feel as healthy as I do now is a miracle. In a follow-up appointment, I talked to my doctor about the genetic testing, in part because I wanted to support the research. So the genetic testing revealed that I have what's known as Loeys-Dietz syndrome.
That's a disorder that can manifest in multiple different ways. We know that patients with this Loeys-Dietz syndrome are predisposed to aneurysms. Knowing exactly what genetic disorder a person has helps us then to guide them with regard to family screening.
My brother and my son have had CT scans to assess their vascular structures to make sure that they don't have a similar type of aneurysm.
We caught it early enough that was totally out of left field for me. Had I not known about this, had I not taken that surgery, I may have had an incident down the road that may have been catastrophic for those around me.
It's easy to take for granted how much research has happened. The procedure that I had is less than 25 years old. That's why I donate to the American Heart Association, to support the continuing research. The reality is that these diseases are so poorly understood, and so I think that's where the genetic testing and participating in the genetic research can help in the future. If we can't figure out how to find these risk factors earlier for people, then the tragedies will continue.
The greatest fear I have going forward with Jason's condition is the unknown. With all the research that's been done, there's still a lot that we don't know.
I think the biggest fear I have is that I could have a stroke like Dad had. My biggest hopes, I'd like to see Jacob get married. I'd like to retire and enjoy time with my wife. I think going through this whole experience, you can look at an aneurysm as a curse. I look at finding the aneurysm as a gift from Dad. Finding the aneurysm for me and for my brother were the last two gifts we got from Dad. And I thank him every day.
My life, it grows inside. It shows a promise of love. You know, it won't hide the unbroken promise of love.